Good evening, everybody. It's P Mobs again. Good evening. Welcome to my channel. It's another time with P Mobs channel. It's an interesting day. I'm sure you've seen my flyers all over my social media about domestic abuse, and this is something that is going on in our society. It doesn't matter where you come from, where you are, all over the world. It is actually something affecting lives, affecting children, man and woman, well, men, women alike. So, before I used to think that how can a man be abused by his wife? How can a man be, harassed by his wife? But I've counseled few men that have been abused, molested by their wives or their partners. So today we're dealing with both ways, both men and women. If you're on right now with us and you're thinking I'm a man, but I've been abused before by a woman, you're welcome. We're going to be talking about the helps that are available out there. We're going to be talking about few things like how does it affect our children? How does it affect our life? The signs of abuse we're going to be talking about today. What you're meant to be looking out for. You maybe your partner has been saying things to you and you're thinking in your head, am I the one thinking like this or is it really happening? My dear, it is happening. If someone has been calling you names, they've been certainly calling you names or shutting you down or finding everything you do as wrong. Something is going on there. You need to open your eyes and seek for help quickly before it becomes something really bad. Or you've been slapped, you're in a relationship, you're just starting a relationship and your boyfriend just slapped you and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to. He's going to slap you, he's going to beat you, he's going to kill you if you're not careful one day. So today we're educating both our young ones, our daughters, our son, the married, the unmarried. We're educating ourselves today. I even heard about a story where an elderly man was actually abused by his wife. He was sick. He was he was discharged back home, and the wife was harassing this man that was still recovering from his sick bed to go and wash the dishes, go and do this, go and do that. They had to move him out of the house for respite. So this is very real, especially at this season where there's lockdown everywhere. I know there's a lot of report about abuse at home with families and things like that. Today, in fact, for the rest of this one, we're going to be talking about domestic abuse, domestic violence, domestic abuse in the home. Today, I have with me Asedu Joel, who has a lot of experience within the community, who we have worked together before because I champion domestic violence within the community with her, and it has been a journey. For what we have seen within the community, it's really an eye-opener. So I've invited her onto my channel today to talk to my viewers. And if you have any questions, you can ask all your questions. Please, if you're here for the first time, remember to subscribe and to click the like button. Also, click the notification bell so that anytime I'm live or posting a video, you can be the first to hear about it. Please welcome with me Asedu Joel. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening, Asedu. You can call me P Mobs. That's what my audience calls me, P Mobs.
Good evening, P Mobs. I know her. I've known her now, 11, 12 years?
More than that. More than that.
14,
it was
years.
It was
Ejime, yes,
Mhm.
14 years.
Yes.
So, and the last 10 years, we've really been doing quite a few things within the community.
Yes, we have.
And our work around domestic abuse, especially within faith groups, picked up 5 years ago when we really started seeing some traits.
Let me just get rid of this for my. Go on, I said.
Families and women started to approach from an anonymized perspective.
Yes.
And I think that's when, we thought we need to start raising awareness. So our work around interfaith domestic abuse awareness picked up 5 years ago. So good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about a topic that I consider close to my heart because I've been working within the community now nearly 20 years, and some of the most harrowing and painful experiences
Mm.
have been around domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think before we sort of kick in, if we start to look initially at what domestic violence is, or
Mm-hmm.
domestic abuse, let's try
Mm-hmm.
to understand it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I know that on your channel you've got a video which you
Yes.
put there, um, and that video highlights several traits.
Yeah. Mm.
So you can see coercive control play. You can see him gaslighting her.
Yeah.
You can see physical,
Abuse.
traumatic
Yes.
abuse. You can see,
Emotional.
emotional and psychological
Psychological.
trauma.
Yeah.
And you see the results that slowly her self worth was eroded.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't believe in
In
herself.
herself.
And I know a few people will say, what do you mean by gaslighting? Now,
Mm-hmm.
um, what he did, or what he kept on doing, and that video showed a bit of it, was when um, he started to try to make her believe that she wanted the abusive relationship.
Yeah. Mm.
So
Mm.
when she said she was going on errands, he said, what errands? We're on a tight budget.
Exactly.
And she said, can I go and get a job? And he quickly flipped,
Mm.
no, you agreed, you'll stay home,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Um, you could see the surprise, the question in her eyes, but she couldn't voice it because in her head mentally she's thinking,
When did I agree to
did
that?
I
Did I
really
agree
agree to that?
to not going to work? Mm-hmm.
And then talking about going back to school. So what is domestic
Abuse.
abuse for those who are listening and those who are watching? Um, Domestic abuse, quite simply put, is any behavior
Mm.
that causes the recipient to feel threatened,
Mm.
to feel undermined,
Yeah.
that causes harm, that causes trauma. There's within the United Kingdom, within the domestic abuse professionals or practitioners, there is a standard definition that is
Mm.
applied.
Mm.
And I know that
Mm.
Pastor Mobs would have it put on
Yes.
her channel so that those who want to go in and have a good look at
Yes.
what the professionals, how they define domestic abuse, because it's changed over time, because so many bits, for instance, several years ago, coercive control was not seen as part of it. Financial abuse, or economic abuse wasn't seen as part of it. But now
Mm.
all these have come to
Come to
feature
play.
as to be recognized as part and parcel of
Abuse.
domestic
Mm.
abuse. I know when we were sort of talking about this, one of the things we talked about was how do we get people to recognize
Mm.
when they are in abusive relationships,
Yes.
and that's something we saw that many people we were dealing with
In there, but
are exactly in there, but don't recognize that they're
Mhm.
in there. And when we sit and have conversations with them,
Mm.
we were coming away feeling quite traumatized by the
Yes.
fact that
Mm.
they just couldn't see.
They couldn't see what is going on with them. They couldn't
And
see they're in an abusive relationship.
exactly.
Mhm.
And many would play the religious or the faith card
Mhm.
back, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you. You mentioned religious or faith card because this is something that is really how do I put this, within our community of faith, that is really happening, and a lot of men and women are capitalizing on the fact that we're Christians or we're whatever religion you come from, and it's not allowed for you to talk to your husband like this, to talk to your wife like this, or to behave in certain way. You're not even allowed to leave that relationship where you could have been killed because it's a religious thing. And please, how do we deal with this? Because I know we've been trying to work this out within the community leaders within Leicester and Leicestershire to educate our community leaders. How can women that are in this situation and they're Christians, how what's Is it okay for them to go to their leaders? Or is it okay for the, no, that's it, I'll reverse. Is it okay for the leaders to say to them, no, don't do anything about it, it's okay, let us pray, let me hold your hands? They're being beaten, abused daily, slapped down, kicked down, almost to death, and their spiritual leaders are saying it's okay. We just pray
Peace sake.
for peace sake, let you just keep taking it, is okay. Is that what the law is saying? Or are they
No.
going against the law by saying
No,
that?
no. I think this sort of highlights something that is we're beginning to recognize as spiritual abuse. And if you look at what any holy scripture, so we're Christians, so our reference holy book now is the Bible.
Yes.
But from working across faith, so whether you read the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Gita, whatever holy book you read, I haven't come across any person of faith who said within my holy scriptures there is a section there that states clearly that abuse is sanctioned
or is accepted. Thank you.
or acceptable. I haven't yet, and this is over a decade's worth, working within the domestic abuse arena in the community. Many a time, what is becoming clear is that a lot of victims, predominantly women, because it's usually women who we're seeing, 95% of the victims tend to be women who suffer abuse at the hand of a partner. Especially when you're a woman of faith, your faith is almost, is your connection to your spirituality. And so many of us, or all of us as people of faith, when we take the vow of marriage, this vow becomes sacrosanct. It's holy, it's unbreakable, it's unshakable. And so when people find themselves in relationships that are abusive, the first natural response is you want to go to whoever your spiritual leader is.
Yes.
Because you want to cry out for help.
Which is good.
Which is a natural response. Because you see this person as someone you can trust. They are father or mother figures. And you come to, we usually see them as epitomes of spiritual clarity and holiness. And once these people are approached, several in my experience, and you can attest to this because we've had a few, from some of the work we've done, come back to say, my pastor, my vicar, my priest has said he doesn't feel there's anything wrong. It is my duty as a wife to to be submissive, to show respect, and so many things, which you begin to wonder, has he factored in the pain this woman is
going through?
Because she's come to him very vulnerable, very broken. And a lot of the women we deal with are usually very broken, in floods of tears, really uncontrollable. So at that point, how and why a person of faith assigned or put
in a place of authority over somebody's life,
spiritual
would say that,
would say that you need to pray more about it. I will speak to him, and so many other things. I've had instances where women have been told it's your cross to bear. God gives everybody a cross. You need to pray for.
Is it really our cross? I think one day I'm going to bring one of our spiritual leaders here to tell us, is it really our cross to bear unto you? When you watch the movie, sorry, I said, when you watch the movie that the short movie that I projected on my YouTube, when you watch it, you realize that it's really bad for women. It's really difficult, especially when you're using the word you love somebody. You love somebody, and you think about all the things that could have happened. When you look at what happened to that lady, her parents actually, her mom actually called to say that we've not heard from you. Has your husband gotten a job yet? The same day the man killed this girl. The same day the man killed. So why are we advising our women to keep standing there, to remain in a place whereby they're going to be abused or eventually killed, demoralized, and put down? I say, how does this affect, um for example, they have children in the family. We've seen a lot of boys, a lot of men that have grown up because of what they have seen in their lives, and they have become an abuser as well, or they have totally gone the other way, and not wanting any woman in their lives, or disrespect women because they feel like their mother should have done something on time. That why would my mom stay there and be beaten and be disrespected and be disgraced every day and not get out of there? Why would my mom stay there and make us to see all this rubbish? And a lot of girls, our young girls, disrespect their mother as well, and feel like, and these mothers are saying, I am staying here because of my children. But the children are saying, no, we don't want you to stay where you will get killed. And at the end of the day, we are suffering, and you are suffering. You're not the only one suffering. We don't want it, because psychologically it's affecting these children.
I think if you look at that question, it's you can cover it in so many ways and from so many angles. Now, when we talk about children, the impact of domestic abuse on the lives of children is
My viewer are saying that they can't hear us. Where our voice is a bit low.
Right, so we will try and use our
outside voices.
Voice.
I know begging voices.
Oh my God.
Our outside voices.
We're trying to be, modulated today.
I know.
So when you look at the effect of domestic abuse, it's terrifying. You have trauma, extensive trauma on these children. And I was reading, a piece a few days ago where someone had documented the experience of it, and how, they had captioned it, around intergenerational trauma, which is what you're talking about.
Yes,
because
yes.
the children suffer. So when they go into adulthood,
suffering continues.
They just regurgitate, almost project,
even worse,
what they know, what they see, and how they feel on the people around them, because the trauma was never addressed. Because a lot of time, I hear people saying children are very resilient. We make this mistake all the time. Children are resilient, but there's a limit to the resilience of a child, where they then subconsciously compartmentalize the pain, compartmentalize the suffering and the trauma, and it only takes something to trigger them. And where we feel, the child is not, displaying any signs of,
they're too young,
they're
they
too
don't
young
understand
to
anything.
So you have, lots of issues. You have the trauma, you have behavioral issues, you have, poor academic attainment, you have, trouble, some children experience difficulty sleeping. You have mental health issues, anxiety, stress. Some people become so frightful of the presence of, adults, other adults, because anytime there's, an issue between mommy and daddy, mommy gets, assaulted in some way or called names, and everybody gets, abused. And then you have lots of aunties and uncles that keep coming and going. So some children resent that. They resent, because they feel that these people have come in but never really taken the problem away. And what has happened is, in let's come down to our African culture. When this thing happens, people who say they're intervene and ask the woman to
apologize to the husband. Yes, I've seen that a lot in our African culture.
I always ask myself,
sorry, they say apologize just to make things
for peace
sake,
because you have
you go and
children
apologize
together.
because you have children.
And sometimes the children are even roped into this, apology sessions, as I call them, where they line them up and ask them to kneel down and beg their father to forgive their mom, and then you that child can only grow up to have a very, very warped sense of responsibility and what reconciliation truly means. Because to them, reconciliation is that somebody is always, having the upper hand. One person must be the underdog. So when they go into employment and they go into positions where they are responsible for managing people, because we need to be looking at this outside of just the home. What happens is, if you have an employee who says to you as the manager, I'm not quite happy with what you said, what happens is that trait comes to play.
Yes.
The bully comes
see
out.
it as you're challenging my authority.
The only time they let go of that junior member of staff is if that staff is completely cowed and broken into, made humiliated, because that is the picture they have.
That's what they have.
That's what they've been brought up and taught and groomed to see as the only way to resolve conflict. So when we begin to look as Christians around what is our responsibility as Christians really when it comes to domestic abuse, when you read, now I'm not a Bible scholar, so I'm relying on your expertise here. So when we read the Bible, there is nowhere in the Bible where God has mandated the man
to be beaten,
to take on an abusive attitude towards his wife. One example comes to mind: David and the when he was caring for the sheep. And he asked for just paltry handouts, from the master. Can you feed my men and I, because we've looked after your sheep, your animal, nothing has been touched, your property has been protected. And he came into this really holy, stance of how dare you. And even when the wife went to placate him, he didn't calm down because he saw himself as superior. So we find,
and that's what a lot of men sees themselves over their wives as superior, over their girlfriends, as superior. So therefore they have to act as the I am mighty. Pastor and I, the last time I was here live, we discussed about
the different types of men.
The different types of men, and are women slaves to men? And we really broke it down. Thank God for Pastor last week. He really, really dissected the whole thing, that we're not slaves to anybody. As a matter of fact, God said you should love your wives. Love. Women should do what?
Be submissive.
But then people do take that submission to a new level of intimidating their wives, putting them down and say, God said you should submit, not remembering that God said you should love first. Because if you cannot love, that is when you begin to abuse that woman. You yourself, you cannot even, I say this, I say, if you love yourself, you will not abuse the woman that God has given you. Because, and if you really love God, a lot of us, we confess, I love God, God is this. But then if you really love God, why do you abuse the creation, the what God has created and God gave to you as love? Do you understand? If you love God, you love what God has created. You nurture what God has created. Today we really want to talk about different types of abuse, so that if you're out there and you don't know what it is, we want to go into emotional abuse, correct? And psychological abuse, which they kind of link. Physical abuse, we've seen it before. Everybody knows that one. It's like that is physical abuse. Or we want to look into financial abuse or neglect. Neglect, that one is really common. Neglect. When it comes to children, we have neglect. When it comes to a wife, we have neglect. The needs of your wife, the needs of your children. That the short movie that I signposted everybody to on my YouTube was what happened to that lady. She was pregnant, and this man beat her till she lost the pregnancy. There was a lot of neglect in her life rather. And that is what a lot of men are doing this day. Paraventure, some women are doing it as well, but not the ratios are quite high with men.
Women, yeah.
I was reading an article online that was saying that this thing is really deep. Even at a place of work, you can see that men are favored more than women. Do you understand? And this is how subtly we see abuse of rights, abuse of position, abuse of authority, abuse of all kinds, that then gives birth to a monster in the future. And we now wonder, why is that boy behaving like that? Why is that girl behaving like that? That girl and that boy grew up in a home whereby there's constant abuse. We've seen it within the community. We've seen broken homes because of this abuse. Please, I want you to please let me break it down to us. This type of abuse, we're going to go to what does the law say about it a little bit.
I think before we sort of go to the different types of abuse, because there's a huge we can spend days talking about this. I because when I work with victims, men and women, and coincidentally, this COVID period, I've had a few men approach me who have I think the lockdown has done things, has not, because they've not been going to work, so they haven't been able to escape, and write the abuse off as just part of everyday living. So I just trying to put it in context, because I know that people watching will be saying, how do I know if I'm in an abusive relationship? Now, online, Women's Aid has got a very good resource. So what I did was to actually print out, because I'm going to quickly go through the questions, so that if you answer yes to one or more, please try to find somebody you can speak to, so that you begin to understand the sort of relationship here. Because sometimes, a lot of the time, we always say, that's the way the man is, the father was like, that's the way they are in their family, no, please, if you begin to normalize and excuse abuse, what happens is you are raising another generation of abusers. Because the sons and the daughters you have will go on to abuse someone somewhere at some point in time. So if we're looking at statistics, the Office of National Statistics last year said that at least 1.6 million women in the country had experienced abuse.
Wow, that's a lot.
There's the police is saying they get well over 100 calls per hour from victims
I was
of
going to say
abuse.
per day.
Reporting per hour. Many of the people ringing are reporting serial perpetrators. So they are not reporting a different person.
It's the same person.
And many have tried to flee. They've come back for whatever reason. And I think we'll go into that. So just so that people can understand, what we're talking about when we say abusive relationships. So,
also, please, if you have any questions, please just put your question down in the comment section. We'll pick it up and ask, as you do here, or myself.
So they produce this sort of guide for people who think that maybe I'm not, or am I. So one question is, has your partner tried to keep you from seeing your friends and family? This is about alienation. So they keep you away from people they know that you can go to for help.
Yes.
people who will be able to call them out, call out
Who can
their
see what's going on
yes,
from an outside
speak
eye.
up, which was demonstrated in that video
Yes.
because he made sure she had no access or didn't feel comfortable around friends and family because they saw what was happening. So has your partner prevented you or made it hard for you to continue or start studying or going to work? This is economic abuse, where they make sure that you are not financially independent, so that you rely on them for every single thing. And I've worked with women and I've seen women who say, things like, even to get sanitary wear, I have to wait to be
Oh my
given
God.
money for that. And sometimes I am denied that as a form of punishment because either I forgot to put it on the shopping list and, some crazy things that you begin to think, oh my goodness.
Just simple thing as that.
So does your partner constantly check up on you or follow you? So when you go out and, I've heard people say he loves me so much, he wants to know where I am. Now, I would be really worried if my husband started ringing me every 10, 15 minutes or every half hour to give him a report of who. And some actually, I've seen where the partner has asked for a video.
Video.
Yeah, because he wanted to be sure that she was where
she said
she was.
It's terrible.
And you and we're not talking about uneducated people here, please, because I think sometimes this is where people think that we're talking about poorly educated women or men. Some of these people are honestly
highly educated,
are in fab positions and jobs and roles. So, and they are in positions of authority where they have responsibility to safeguard others. So we're not just, this is not about trying to say it happens only to certain kind of people. So
it could be from anybody, from any walks of life.
It says, does your partner unjustly accuse you of flirting or having affairs with others? So it's a 3-page questionnaire, and you can see how they've tried to go through the different stages. Does your partner belittle you or humiliate you? Do you feel afraid of your partner? Have you had to change your behavior because you're afraid of what your partner might say or do? Has your partner destroyed your property? Willingly, not by accident, willfully destroyed it.
When you say property, because I've seen one occasion whereby a partner burned all a certificate.
That is abuse.
Yeah, because he doesn't want her to go back to work. And he felt like because she's seeing the certificate, is giving her the power. So he burned all the certificate and all her clothes.
So has your partner ever hurt or threatened you or your children? Now, this is very common, especially within our traditional or cultural family settings, where the woman is usually threatened that the children will be taken away. That should not be allowed. Nobody is allowed to take your children away.
Do you mean where husband and wife are having misunderstanding, like within the home, and the man constantly calls the woman out, call her name, you're ugly, you're not nice, you're not this, I'm even going to take the children away from you because you're not fit to be a mother?
That is abuse.
That is abuse.
That is emotional abuse.
Wow.
That is abuse.
So that's not just that maybe husband and wife are having an argument.
No. Wow. I mean, we have husbands. So if we're looking at it from a marriage context or a relational context, there are things that are just totally unacceptable.
Of course.
So when a husband threatens a wife, I will take the children away from you. That is emotional abuse. That's psychological abuse. What he's doing is he's trying to wield control over her. That's a form of coercive control.
Wow.
Because he knows that she's emotionally tied to the children. So if I threaten her with
ladies, are you listening to this?
If I threaten her with the children, we as mothers, that is one feel. That's one thing that
because you want to fight back, or is that you fight back, or you like, okay,
so
I'll just calm down.
Are lying down, 40-degree temperature, fever, and your daughter or son says, "Mommy," you somehow
you
you
get up.
get up,
Yeah.
but you will not get up for yourself.
Mm.
So this type of coercive control, the men
Mm.
already know, the abusers already know that
Mm.
this is something she will back down because she doesn't want the children taken away. And I've seen where in-laws actually use that as a weapon also, where they come in and they say, if you refuse, we will take the children and we will take them abroad, and you will,
Mm.
and nobody wants to fight to keep their children.
Mm.
So many women stay
And endure the
and
abuse.
endure.
Wow.
So it goes on to say, has your partner ever kept you short of money so you're unable to buy food? So this is economic abuse. As your partner forced you to do something that you really don't want to do. I have seen and work with victims who have been forced or subjected to have sexual relations with friends because
Wow.
they want to keep the husband happy. This issue of I can't,
Control.
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 you know if you don't, I will make sure you don't do this and you don't do that. Also, where women are given cards linked to husbands' accounts, so
Mm.
whenever you spend money, he's notified of it and where you spent it. And so it happens. It happens. And
Mm.
many, we as women, as a woman, I put my hand up because from working and counseling and supporting women, I see lots of instances where we empower these men and we make excuses because
We do.
we feel we don't know any better
Mm.
ourselves.
Mm.
And some of these women have come from broken homes or polygamous
Mm.
homes, or
Yeah.
homes where the moms put up with abuse. And so they say, well, my mom stayed. After all, look at all of us today. But
We turn out
we
well.
turned out okay.
Do
Did
they
you
really
really
turn
turn
out
out
okay? Because if they did turn out okay, you would not be in the
Yeah,
same predicament
yeah,
as your mom.
because
Yeah.
one thing about long lasting trauma is psychologically victims of abuse seek out similar people to their abusers.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unless they are actually
Yeah.
supported and helped to overcome it, they gravitate towards those type
We're
of
going to
people.
come to the support bit when you finish
Yeah.
with the type
So
of.
has your partner tried to prevent you from taking medication? People have said, my husband says don't take this, my wife says so that we can pray and we can this. That
Prayer is good.
Prayer is good,
Mm.
but you cannot be praying blind.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot be praying blind.
Yeah.
Because I believe that God, who gave the wisdom, the
To
knowledge,
the doctors, yeah.
the intellectual capacity for the discovery of those particular medicines and treatment methods, God is not a fool.
No. Mm.
So when people discount modern medicine and say, if when you take your medicine, you are saying God is not able to.
That's another topic to come to.
So has your partner tried to control you by threatening to have you deported?
I've heard that. I've seen that. I've seen that. I've counseled people that has been through that.
Dependents on spousal visas,
Yeah.
and once they, they say, once they start to fight against the abuse, they are threatened with deportation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've seen where passport documents were withheld
Mm.
so that she couldn't get a renewal, in the hope that if
I've seen
anything
that
happens,
as well. I've heard about that.
he will call the home office.
Mm.
So has your children been threatened to take away? Forced sexual activity. Have you been prevented from leaving the house or entering the house? I've seen where women are locked out of the house because they've offended the man for some reason or the other.
I've heard one. Let me even make you laugh. When you settle a case for somebody, and I've heard one that says that okay, the wife is actually trying to be more, acceptable of him and whatever. Let's work together, and she was really doing well. And the man had the audacity to say that, locked her out. Number one, and now say that, oh, why did you lock her? I said, well, I was just testing the waters. What?
How do you test?
What waters are you testing?
Oh my God!
You guys are working things out. You locked her house. She ended up sleeping outside. I said, I'm just testing whether she's really submissive. I'm like, by locking your wife outside. Some men are really crazy, to be honest with you. And we will say that we believe in God.
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
God is our head.
yeah.
God is our father. God does not behave the way you behave. If you're an abusive man, an abusive husband, there is no truth inside of you.
No.
If you terrorize your wife and your children at home, the truth of God is not inside of you. That is it. But if you're watching me, you're not even a Christian, and you're committing this offense, I will beg you to stop. Like I said in my flyer, like I projected in my flyers, there are two ways it can go: the 6 feet or prison. You know, the perpetrator will go to prison. The
Victim
the victim will
could
go
end
to
up
could
jail.
end up in 6 feet. You know, what could have been prevented? Like the movie we watched, it could have been prevented. She could have run away to her parents' house. She could have seek the help of the guy that she was talking to, that this is what is happening to me, go to the police. But she was so scared.
But this is
She was so
where
scared.
this is where, because when you look at it, the the abuse had become so systematic and so
That is now
unpredictable
acceptable to
that
the
she had
victim.
reached the point where she'd lost every sense of self-esteem or trust.
Mm.
So, and shame had come into it, because shame is one thing that prevents a lot of people from reaching out for help.
Mm.
Now, we all know that domestic abuse happens mostly within the home.
Mm.
So, because nobody sees past your front door,
Nobody.
so what you project outside your front door is what
Mm.
people take as your norm, as your reality.
Mm. Mm. But meanwhile,
So, unless you speak out,
nobody knows what's going on.
nobody knows what's going on. And we tend to find that many cultures, society expects that um, it is your family affair, it is your business. So, it is a family dispute. Don't let's wash our dirty linen in public.
I've read that too many times.
Let's try and contain it within the home. But she's experiencing, or the man is experiencing, a lot of behaviors and emotions that are slowly eroding their person away. Now, children, if they are involved in this, what happens is they develop coping mechanisms that are unhealthy. And one of the long-term effects is they do not understand what healthy relationship is
It's all
like.
about.
Because this is also where, as families, as people who live within, society with rules, with norms, with structure, and then also say that we are believers of, and followers of the word of God. Many of us do not understand what healthy relationships means.
Yeah, but could this be because of the background?
It's because of many things. The background,
the upbringing,
so many. And some have come to experience abuse to a level where they normalize it so much so that when their children are going through it, so you have mothers who children have said, I told my mom I was being abused by my stepdad, by her boyfriend, and she beat me blue and black, saying I was trying to break up the relationship. When you check the mother's story,
I actually saw something on Facebook like that.
She herself was a victim of abuse.
And she knows what was going on.
And so to her, if I manage to find a way to deal with it,
you should deal with it.
You should deal with it. Because accepting that it's happening to you means I have to deal with my own trauma. And so many people are incapable of it because they don't understand. They can't figure out, how do I deal with my child's trauma without admitting to my child that the same happened to me.
Well, is that not a what's the word for it? When as a mother, you see, we mothers sometimes, we are caring, we're loving, and then yet we see things happening that is wrong. We still can't talk. I can't marry the two together.
No,
Because there comes a time whereby I know that psychologically somebody is messed up. That's what it is. If you're messed up psychologically, you will not be able to help your child. You'll be thinking if you can go through it, so she should be able to go through it as well. If you can survive it, so your children should survive it as well. But it's wrong. If you're a mother, you're watching me, it's totally wrong. Your child needs help. If you've been abused in your early age, you don't want that to happen to your child because you're messed up yourself and you are yet to receive help. After this where I'm going to really put some link there for whoever needs to go and contact agency for counseling, for help, for whatever you need counseling for. I will. Women's aid, if you're in an abusive relationship, you're looking for a way to come out. You can send us an email at pmobs, or you can put, you don't even need to let yourself me know who you are, but go to our link and just visit all these places and see which one really suits you. Who can you talk to? And there's confidentiality in all these things. There's street confidentiality. Nobody will know. I believe there's some mini cabs in town and the city as well, that when you tell them what you're going through, they know where you're supposed to go to, and they just take you straight there. In all cities that you may be.
If you even look at, for those who shop in Tesco, if you look at the receipt, you see that, at the bottom, they've started putting some hidden messages for people who are experiencing domestic abuse so that they can get help. There's keywords in some supermarkets when you go in, and once you say the keyword, they know that you are a victim of abuse and you are fleeing.
Yes.
So they know that you are there, you are fleeing. They put you straight in touch with help.
You see?
So these are not insurmountable situations. There's lots of help out there. But it is for us now, and I think we stress on this because within our Black African community, we hide abuse. We don't own up to it because we are afraid of being shamed, or being stigmatized, or being told that we're not Christian enough, or we're not religious enough. That's why it's happening to us. And we are not accepting the cross that God has given to us.
There's some question as a carry on, I say do.
All sorts of things. So we need to own up as a people, as a community. When we see or begin to experience behaviors that are not normal, we need to seek help. Now, you can, if you feel confident or trusting, because this is it, if you have your trust broken by the person you say you love or who says he loves you, and you want to go to your pastor or the pastor's wife, please, this is a caveat from both of us.
Yes.
Because we've seen some wonderful things. You should only go if you trust and know that your case will be dealt with in confidence.
Yes.
And you will be signposted to the right place. If you go somewhere and someone starts saying you need deliverance, please ring 999 and tell them about your situation.
Yes, correct.
Please do not allow yourself to be subjected to deliverance over domestic abuse. You don't need deliverance. What is happening, the abuse is not your fault. Please, because culturally we've come to believe that the abuse is the woman's fault. So you are being abused because of what you've done. We've seen where people, why are you doubting what the woman is saying? Shouldn't you be trying to get her help? Get the family help. Because even the abuser himself, whether it's the man who is the abuser or the wife who is the abuser, there are agencies out there who can help them. For those who are Christians, I found out recently that there is a project that works with men.
I heard about that a few days ago.
Who are in or who have been abusers and want help. but also
You
what?
mean who are victim themselves?
No, men who are
Perpetrators.
abusers. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So they've come to recognize that
They are abusers
yes,
and they need help.
something is wrong.
Fantastic.
And the founder himself
Hmm.
used to be one, and he said his wife used to say, he never was violent to anybody else except her,
Hmm.
and she couldn't understand why. And he said when he came to understand it, when he started to think about it, he knew he needed help. But his faith, so his the support takes into account your Christian beliefs and Christian faith. But they don't just limit themselves to Christians.
Yeah. Anybody can go there.
Anybody, any man,
So
any woman.
we have a link for that or
so
contact.
we
We'll
will
put it there.
put the link on so that people can reach
So
out.
if you're watching us, you're a perpetrator, and you need help. You know that you need help. There's going to be a link down there for you, or you know somebody that needs help but does not know where to go to.
You want help.
You would meet like men that have been there and they realize that what they're doing is wrong and they seek for help. So you're not going to be alone. There is help available for you if you're willing to accept help.
Definitely.
Thank you, Asedu. Okay. I think someone was just saying something about how do we marry this with what was it? Something to do with associate the nature of the abuse with the biblical term. I think we spoke about that earlier on, about the fact that no. Okay.
So what's the
because I can see.
Should we see the question?
Yes.
So it says, I can't see. So can we associate the patriarchal nature of the Bible as a reason for male dominant behavior and domestic violence in some Christian homes? Now, it isn't just the Bible that is patriarchal. So if we look at our society, we look at every day. So you go to work, most establishments are headed by men.
Men, yeah.
You
even not until recently, women had just been accepted as leaders in churches, or can even in some churches, women can't hold the microphone.
Yeah. So societally, we live in a patriarchal world where the man is seen as the head, as the dominant one, as the one who has the answers, the power, the provider. He's the one who is has been given responsibility. So if you look at the relationship between God and the first man, Adam, it was Adam that God gave the instruction to, the task to do.
But can I say something? Even though God gave Adam the task to do, God also says that he that findeth a wife,
findeth a good thing,
findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of him, of God. So in as much as God gave men the authority, is saying that as you find this woman, you have found good things. I'm not telling you that they're your slaves. I'm not telling you that they're someone that you should abuse or put down or disgraced or psychologically abused in whatever form. But I'm saying you should nurture them. You should love them. You should see that you would obtain favor from me for finding these good women. And that's what God has said. In all the in the hierarchy of God, God never said that women should be belittled in any way.
No.
If you looked at the way God has said, he said, men, husband, love your wives.
As
you understand? As Christ loves the church.
Even unto death.
It's even unto death. Even unto death. You should love that woman, even unto death. That if anything goes wrong with that, you're willing to put your life in line for her. He's not saying that you should kill her.
Yeah.
No. God is saying you should love. And I think the earlier the better we all wake up as a society, that women are not to be thrown about or an object of sex,
Yeah.
an object of disgrace, an object of abuse, the better for us. We have a lot of women that are intelligent, that are doing great things, that are powerful, and they still have a self-respect within them. And they have husbands at home that honors them and respects them.
But you know, if we look at this argument that is given around submission, because I think that person is driving towards
I
the
know.
question of submission. Now, what does it mean to be submissive? Because this is where we always
That
get it
last
wrong.
week.
Now, I am submissive if I can and I have the enablement, the wherewithal, and the power to do, but I choose not
Not
to,
to.
in difference to you.
Yes. Because
Submission is not that I am weak, I am unable to, I am incapable of, I am,
no,
not
it's
knowledgeable. No, it is
actually submissions means if you can submit,
yes,
it means that you have wisdom
the submissive
and you have the power.
has the power.
Yes.
Because what I am saying to you is, I could challenge you, but
I chose not to. Yes. I have what to take to challenge you, but I'm a bigger person.
And
I would not challenge you. I would choose to respect you, which is the same way. If a woman is unlovable, I love one of my spiritual daughter, what's her name? Kemi. You usually said, I love the unlovable. Love that woman, whether she's lovable or not. Love, because Christ loves you too. He loved you. You were unlovable. You were a stick-necked man. But yes, God loved you and sent his only begotten son to die for you and I, regardless of our arrogancy, regardless of our misbehavior, regardless of our attitude, towards God's things and towards God himself. He still sent his son to die for us. So why would you not honor what God has created? He said, love husbands, love your wives. Love your wives. Because you see, people are really referring back to Father Adam and saying that, oh, it was the authority, it was this, it was that, it was, yes, it was. It was. But you know what God did? So that this kind of thing, people go deep into the word of God. God actually put Adam to sleep, to take part of his ribs, to create a woman. Men were created from the mud. Women were created from the ribs of human being. Adam. He put him to sleep. Why? Because he does not want this kind of rubbish that some men are doing right now. For you to feel like you have the power. You are the creator of a woman. No, you are not. You were asleep when God created the women out of you and made them into human beings and woke you up and say, behold, what do you think? And you accepted. God took time to put a woman together. God took time to put a womb inside a woman. God took time to make sure that women, their brain can multitask. That does not mean that our men are not, they're far intelligent as well. But you cannot put a woman down just because you cannot embrace your own weaknesses and look for help. You cannot put, when a man starts putting a woman down, it means that they themselves, they have a deeper issue. When you cannot embrace the goodness in your wife, when your wife will do something, you cannot see the goodness in her. You cannot support her. Instead, you put her down constantly. You relegate her to nothing. To make yourself feel good. I'm telling you, you ain't feeling no good. You're feeling bad the more, because the more you put this woman down, the more you will never be anything.
But they never, you cannot, it's a principle of life. You cannot destroy another to raise yourself up and expect that when you get there, you will stay there.
Pastor usually says something. When you kick the people at the bottom because you're going up,
on the way back,
you will fall flat. Nobody will be able to take you. The backs you've broken will not be there because it's broken. They will not take you falling down.
I think something else is, from
thank you, sir. Pastor is just saying Bible is in no support of domestic violence. Thank you, Pastor. Yes. First Peter 3:7. Yeah.
When we look at our understanding of relationships, and when I say relationships, we're talking about healthy relationships now. And this is not to say that within marriages or within relationships you do not have disagreements, because even the Bible says that, be angry but do not sin. So the Bible recognizes that as human beings, we will at some point in time be angry over something.
Of course.
But the caveat is do not sin. So when we start to, because when I speak to the young girls, a few of them that I mentor, I say to them, before you get into a relationship, know who you are. Know who you are.
This is the topic of me and my daughter.
You cannot offer anybody anything of value if you don't know who you are. Because my mom used to say, whatever relationship or association you find yourself in, define it and set boundaries.
Exactly.
And I used to think then as a 16, 17-year-old that, what is my mom talking about? And I remember when I came to do my master's, she always used to say to me on the phone, she said, make sure you define the relationship. So I say to the young girls that I mentor, know yourself, define the relationship, set boundaries. Now, any man, and to the boys or young men, any woman who is unable to see you for what you are, to accept you for who you are, to add value to your cause, you do not need that person in your life.
No.
Because a lot of, when we sit back, and we've talked about this several times, some of these people we've counseled together, when we look at the relationship and when they come to tell us how they started, one thing is very clear. The abuse or abusive behaviors had already started pre-marriage.
Yes.
So they had already seen signs.
The signs, sometimes the signs are very subtle. Like someone is asking, we've said that in the beginning, the signs for emotional abuse, because physical abuse is easy to see. All these the subtle ones, the emotional, the psychological one, are not easy to see. But then there are tones to it.
Yeah. So emotional abuse, I come to you and I say, Pastor Mother, I would like to go down to Sainsbury's. Can I have £10? I give it the first. I'll give you back tomorrow. Now you give because you are trusting that I will keep my word.
Yeah.
Then I take the money, I go, I come back, and tomorrow I don't give it to you. The next day, then you ask me, and I say to you, when did we have that arrangement? I never told you that.
That's the beginning.
And then you try to argue. Then we get into an argument. And because you think, maybe, okay, let's just leave it. Then I come to you another day and say,
you say something like, if you don't give me, you don't love me.
Yeah, I'm just going out with, my friends. I'll be back in an hour. I don't come back in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Then you ring me about midnight. Where are you?
Are you okay?
Dished your food already hours ago because you said you were only going for an hour. I'm coming. Then I come back and I lash out at you. How dare you humiliate me before my friends trying to check up on me? And that was never it. Then I see you, this looks nice. So you think, this is an outfit that looks nice. Then the next day I think, what rubbish? Who told you,
Who told you look nice? You're confusing the person emotionally. You're not,
gaslighting.
Yes,
you're not
gaslighting.
Sure. What is this person telling me?
What is he really talking about? And then you're confused. You don't even know what to ask again or how to ask.
We have a conversation. We want to have, a family meeting. And then we sit down and I say, you called the meeting When? No, I never called him. I never. And I'm
So if you have
thinking,
anything to say, say it. I didn't call the meeting.
but
So
why would
confuse the
we,
woman.
why would I have brought the children, brought everybody here if there wasn't a discussion that we're going to have this kind of, then the topic changes to, you see how irresponsible she is,
In
trying to,
front of the children.
puts me down.
Mhm.
And then suddenly my character is being eroded
Mhm.
before people who you
Love
should
you.
uphold
Mm,
me to.
mm, mm.
Or you meet work colleagues, and instead of talking about your wife or your husband in positive light, the first thing you do is you crack a joke that will undermine your
Yes,
husband or your wife,
yes, yes,
so that
yes.
that
I've seen that a
you
lot.
make sure they cannot participate in that
Yes,
social
you
gathering
put them down.
because you want to be the only person who has a voice there.
Mm. Okay.
So there's so many
There's so many
ways.
instances. So because somebody asked the question, I wanted us to. We might not finish today. We can't even finish. We've not even touched what we want to talk about. We've just scratched the surface
Skim
today.
the surface.
Yes, that's what we have done today. We're coming back because there's a lot more that I want us to talk about or learn more, so that if you're out there and you're going through this, you know that this is not right.
Mhm.
Emotional abuse is very subtle, like we've described.
Very, very.
Start from somebody saying you look ugly. Do you think you're fine? You're not fine. You're
Usually
very ugly.
there's insults,
You
they're
know,
undermined, they mentally try to
yeah,
control you.
yeah.
You have where the most common one is where people ring in-laws
And report you.
report, and give negative reports. Then you have mother-in-law and father-in-law ringing to say, why would you? And you're thinking, but this is not what happened. Can I? And because as parents or as in-laws, they don't want to be shamed. They feel shame. So the thinking is never really there to say what happened. You get lashed first, and that person feels good because
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
where to go to
yeah.
next. But you check it as soon as one of the parents says, can we ask her or can we ask him what happened?
The subject will change.
That is the end of that person being contacted.
That's it. Because they feel like the perpetrator will think that this person no longer qualified to
Yes.
interfere in this relationship.
Because suddenly they're taking control away from me.
Thank you very much, Sedu. Thank you so much. We have not started. We're coming back. If we have any questions, please don't forget to send it to PMobs TV. We would tackle the questions and then we'll send the links as well so that you can ask your questions. Number one, you can go to seek for help if you need counseling. Number two, and then you can relieve yourself of this pain finally. Let me just read 1 Peter 3:7. Talking to husbands, he said, in the same way, you husbands must give honor to your wives. Treat your wife with understanding as you live together. Give honor to your wives and treat them with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. She is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Check it out in 1 Peter 3:7. Amen. And treat her as you should, so your prayers will not be hindered. Treat your wife as you should, as God expected of you, so that your prayers will not be hindered. You might say, I don't even pray, I don't care. Well, that's okay too. But treat the woman in your life with respect.
Yes.
If you want respect back, give respect out. Thank you all very much, everybody, for watching with us, for staying with us for this long. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching with us. Thank you, Ola. So that's a brilliant analogy of the emotional abuse. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're going to post this out and then leave some links there as well for you to be able to contact, help that is available.
Yeah.
The agency that is available within the community. We thank you for watching with us. Please remember to click on the subscribe down below somewhere there. Also, click on the likes. Also, please click on the notification bell so that anytime we're projecting live or I upload any video, you'll be able to see it first. Thank you very much for watching with us and have a blessed evening. God bless. Bye bye.